Hey, it's Eli K. Atlas. I received an interesting comment from Programmer Art on my most recent Supergirl coloring video, wherein, alongside a compliment on the art itself, he requested a little walkthrough of tools I use within my coloring program of choice, PAINT TOOL SAI. In his words, a program demo. So to be concise, we will do this process from the first tool I used to the last tools. Keep in mind that there is no correct way to color or to use these tools. I'm only expounding on my own process of creating digital art. Number 1. The Select Brush / Magic Wand. Firstly, much like Photoshop, SAI has a lasso and magic wand and a select brush. I like the select brush in SAI more than the one in Photoshop because it shows you exactly what you're selecting in blue as opposed to the dotted lines Photoshop is known for. So typically, I will use the select brush in conjunction with the magic wand to patch any holes left in the line art and to cover some bigger spaces. Then I will use the magic wand to select the bulk of whatever I'm focusing on. Tip: there's a secret to using the magic wand and avoiding any white specks or blotches left from an incomplete section. Simply turn the selection mode to color difference and move the select ratio bar underneath it, titled color, upwards as far as you want. That tells the magic wand to make a more complete selection. Number 2. Swatches. Okay, so for years I didn't use swatches and would just color pick off the color ring, but I'm too busy for that now, and I use the same colors 90% of the time. So for everyone who doesn't, I highly recommend you guys use swatches. You can compile your go-to colors in one section, organize them as you see fit, and reuse them as much as you want. Number 3. Bucket. Once the selection is made, I use the paint bucket. Simply click in the area I want and fill it with a base color. Pretty straightforward. Number 4. Pen. With the base color laid down, at this point I can do all of the finer coloring with the pen tool. I basically use this tool to sculpt the skin tone, lighting, shapes, and forms across the entire image at various stages. I typically set the pen to max hardness to avoid any soft or blurry edges, since I'll add those later if needed in the next step. If you're using a tablet, it should have pressure control automatically enabled, so having a soft pen isn't a necessity. Number 5. Blur. In Photoshop, this is called airbrush, but in SAI it's called blur. I typically use this to glue some of my more disrupted or overly vibrant colors together to make a subtle shade where it needs to be. Even though we're creating fantasy within our art, some things look better when done realistically. And people don't walk around with broad brush strokes on their bodies. It does make a cool effect every now and then, but it's perfectly okay to smooth things out. I would advise, as I've been advised in the past, not to go overboard with the blending and blurring, however, as you run the risk of making your characters look too waxy. In this same way, I try to shy away from the blur as much as possible and find ways to make the brush strokes look more natural. One way to do that is using very similar shades of the same color and to build a natural gradient of sorts. Number 6. Filter. The hue, saturation, brightness, depth, contrast, and luminance sliders are a massive help. They're also a big reason I don't do flats, for all the people who ask about it. If you're unsure about a color scheme, you can mix and match, change colors, hues, shades, subtleties, and details with these. Technically speaking, Photoshop does have these features and even more, but visually, I like simple looking interfaces. Graphs and stuff can be overwhelming when I'm already stressing on a design. I prefer the less is more route. Number 7. Opacity Lock. Major key alert. The easiest, fastest way to resume coloring a section without having to reselect it once you've laid down your colors at any stage is to use the Opacity Lock feature. It will allow you to color only within the existing area of colors without touching anything outside. That's the main reason I've started using it, kind of for a while now, but lately, and it has saved me so much time. So once again, you've used your select brush and wand, placed your base color, or already finished a whole area, whatever area you want to color. Just select that layer, click opacity lock, and have fun without worrying about any colors spilling outside where you want it. Layer clip. My brother has been using all these digital programs much longer than I have, but had never really utilized the layer clip until I told him about it, so I have a feeling a lot of people might be in the same place. Here's what I use it for. If I ever need to confine a background or an effect or anything to a particular area, select the layer I want, drag it over the layer I want the effect to appear on, select layer clip, and watch it trim your color or effect to the area you want it. It's a bit like the opacity lock in reverse. The beautiful thing about it is that it doesn't destroy your original layers at all. Even though you can see the color or effect you want past the confined edges, it still exists. You can drag the contents of the layer where you want, resize it, flip it, whatever you want. And if you want it back the way it was, just disable the layer clip and you're good to go. And that about wraps it up. Once I'm done with my main figure, I'll typically export it to Photoshop, where I will put the finishing touches on it, such as using all the brushes and textures you can get in there, special effects filters like radial blur and pixelate. The layer modes are a lot more expansive in Photoshop as well, so those are things I like to play with. That about wraps it up for this video, for this week. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this video. The goal for this year is to get to 10,000 subscribers before the year ends, and we're already at 2,000 plus, so I appreciate you guys who have followed my channel, followed my work, and stay subscribed. Thank you to my new subscribers and welcome as well. Make sure you tune in this Friday for a new episode of the For Future Reference vlog series, and next Monday for another episode of this, or maybe a speed coloring, a walkthrough, tutorial, something like that. Whatever's on my desk at the moment and I have recorded, I'll make sure to put it up here for you guys to check out. And again, definitely make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell next to the subscribe icon. That way you can get notifications and updates on videos as I post them in real time. So let me know what you guys thought of this video. I definitely want to hear from you. Hopefully you guys learned something about it. And if you don't use PAINT TOOL SAI, I highly recommend it. It's a really good program. It's very fast, unlike Photoshop, which gets more bloated with each edition. No hate, but it is what it is. PAINT TOOL SAI, you get in, you get out, you do the colors that you need. Then you can always export it to Photoshop if you need more. That's how I do it. So I definitely recommend it. It's great for beginners, intermediate, advanced, whatever. So definitely check it out if you guys get the chance. And yeah, happy painting. Thank you for watching. Later.